The klaxons blared as Maya Reyes sprinted across the maintenance bay of Lunar Station Artemis, her combat boots clanging against the metal flooring. Warning lights bathed the corridor in crimson, turning the familiar station into an alien landscape of sharp shadows and fear. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. The AI's voice, usually calm and measured, held an unmistakable edge of urgency. Unknown vessels have breached the sole defense perimeter. Military response inbound. All civilians to designated shelters. Maya's heart hammered in her chest as she skidded around a corner. As chief engineer of Artemis, she couldn't afford the luxury of seeking shelter. She had to reach the central command center. "Commander Zhao," she called out as she burst through the reinforced doors of the command center. The circular room buzzed with frantic activity as officers rushed between stations, their faces set in grim determination. Commander Elena Zhao looked up from the holographic display, her weathered face tight with tension. At 53, Zhao had been a veteran of the Mars Uprising, decorated for valor during humanity's first interplanetary conflict. But Maya had never seen fear in her commander's eyes, until now. "They're unlike anything we've ever encountered," Zhao said, gesturing to the tactical display hovering in the center of the room. The hologram showed dozens of angular vessels, each one at least 3 times the size of Earth's largest battleships. They moved with impossible precision, accelerating and decelerating in ways that defied the laws of physics as humanity understood them. "First contact," Maya whispered. For centuries, humanity had searched the stars for signs of intelligent life. Now it seemed they had found us instead. "This isn't first contact, Reyes," Zhao replied grimly. "This is an invasion." As if to punctuate her words, the station shuddered violently. The lights flickered, plunging the command center into darkness for a heart-stopping moment before emergency power engaged. "Direct hit to sectors 7 through 12, called out Lieutenant Isamu Nakamura, the young tactical officer whose fingers flew across his console. "Hull breach in residential quarters. Automated systems sealing affected areas. Casualties?" Zhao demanded. Nakamura's face paled. 273 life signs lost. 418 more in jeopardy. Maya felt a cold fist clench around her heart. Nearly 700 people, scientists, engineers, families gone in an instant. "The Earth Defense Fleet is engaging," Nakamura continued, his voice steadying as training took over. "But the alien vessels they're cutting through our ships like they're not even there." The holographic display confirmed his words. Earth's most advanced warships, pride of human engineering, were being systematically destroyed. Laser weapons that could cut through meters of reinforced titanium seemed to dissipate harmlessly against the alien hulls. Nuclear-tipped missiles detonated prematurely, their explosions creating beautiful, useless flowers of light against the void. "We need to evacuate," Zhao decided, her voice heavy with the weight of command. "Nakamura, initiate Protocol Omega. All remaining personnel to escape pods." "Ma'am," Maya interjected, "the station's antimatter core. If they capture it, I know." Zhao met her gaze steadily. "That's why I'm not leaving. Someone needs to ensure it's properly detonated if they breach the command center." "Then I'm staying too," Maya said without hesitation. Zhao opened her mouth to argue, but another violent shudder rocked the station. This time, the lights didn't come back on. Only the holographic display remained, casting eerie blue shadows across the command center. "Life support failing," the AI announced, its voice distorting. "Hull integrity at 26%. Recommend immediate evacuation of all personnel." "Go, both of you," Zhao ordered Nakamura and Maya. "That's a direct command." The young lieutenant hesitated but nodded sharply and headed for the exit. Maya stood her ground. "With respect, Commander, you'll need help." Her words died as the command center doors exploded inward in a shower of molten metal. Through the smoke strode 3 figures that could only be described as nightmares made flesh. They stood over 2 meters tall, with gray-green exoskeletons that gleamed like polished obsidian. Their limbs were too long, too angular, reminding Maya of praying mantises. But it was their faces that froze the blood in her veins, or rather, the lack thereof. Where a face should have been, each alien bore a smooth, reflective surface that curved around their elongated heads, showing distorted reflections of the humans before them. One of the aliens stepped forward. Its armor was more ornate than the others, with intricate patterns etched into the exoskeleton. A leader, Maya realized. Humans, it said, the word emanating not from the featureless head but from a small device on what passed for its chest. The voice was metallic, cold, utterly devoid of emotion. Your resistance is noted. Your technology is primitive. Your existence is now property of the Valkari Imperium. Commander Zhao straightened to her full height, impressive despite being dwarfed by the aliens. We are representatives of the United Earth government. We demand to know the reason for this unprovoked attack on our sovereign territory. The alien tilted its head, the movement unnervingly insect-like. Demand? You misunderstand your position. The strong do not explain themselves to the conquered. Without warning, a beam of energy lanced from the alien's arm, striking Zhao squarely in the chest. She crumpled without a sound, her body smoking slightly where the beam had pierced her heart. Maya screamed, lunging forward only to be caught by one of the other aliens. Its grip was like iron, painfully tight around her upper arm. This one shows spirit, the leader observed dispassionately. Take it for study. Terminate the rest. As Maya was dragged away, she caught a final glimpse of the command center of Nakamura drawing his sidearm in a futile gesture of defiance, of Zhao's body lying still on the floor, of the holographic display showing Earth's defense fleet being systematically decimated. Then darkness claimed her. Warlord Kzari of the Valkari Imperium stood on the observation deck of his flagship, the inevitable Dominance, gazing at the blue-green planet that hung in space before him. Earth. Such a simple name for what would soon become the newest acquisition of the Imperium. The conquest had proceeded even more efficiently than anticipated. Humanity's pathetic attempts at defense had been crushed within hours. Now, 3 solar cycles later, the subjugation was nearly complete. Resistance remained in isolated pockets. The humans were surprisingly tenacious for such fragile creatures, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Your presence is requested in the research laboratory, Warlord, came the voice of his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vex. Kzari turned, his reflective face catching the light of Earth's sun. The human specimen? Yes, Warlord. The scientists report unusual findings. Kzari made a gesture of acknowledgement. He had personally selected the human female from the lunar installation. Something about her defiance had intrigued him, a quality rare among conquered species, who typically descended into despair once their inevitable defeat became apparent. The research laboratory occupied an entire deck of the inevitable Dominance. When Kzari entered, the scientists immediately ceased their activities and adopted the posture of deference required in the presence of a warlord. Show me, Kzari commanded. The chief scientist, Mox, led him to a transparent containment cell. Inside, the human female sat cross-legged on the floor, her eyes closed. She appeared to be engaged in some form of meditation. Unlike most specimens, who raged or begged or cowered, she projected an aura of calm that was disconcerting. Subject designation Earth, 7729, Mox began, consulting his data tablet. Female, approximately 30 Earth rotations in age. Captured during the lunar assault. Initial scans revealed nothing extraordinary, typical human physiological parameters. Then why have you summoned me? Kzari's voice carried a dangerous edge. Because, Warlord, when we attempted standard neural mapping, we encountered resistance. Kzari turned his reflective face toward the scientist. Explain. The neural mapper couldn't establish a connection. It was as if Mox hesitated, aware that what he was about to say bordered on heresy. As if her mind rejected our technology. This was unprecedented. Valkari neural mapping technology was infallible, designed to override any biological brain patterns and render subjects compliant. It had worked on every species the Imperium had conquered across 7 galaxies. You are suggesting a technological failure, Kzari stated coldly. No, Warlord, Mox replied quickly. We verified the equipment. It functions perfectly. The anomaly lies within the subject herself. Kzari approached the containment cell, studying the human more closely. She opened her eyes then, as if sensing his scrutiny, and met his gaze without flinching. Her eyes were dark, intelligent, and utterly unafraid. "What is your designation, human?" Kzari asked, activating the cell's communication system. "My name is Maya Reyes," she replied, her voice steady. "Chief Engineer of Lunar Station Artemis. Service number 47 Echo 9081. You are now property of the Valkari Imperium," Kzari informed her. "Your former identity is irrelevant." The human Maya stood up in a fluid motion. "I am not property. I am a sentient being with inalienable rights recognized under Earth Sentient Species Accords." A strange sensation rippled through Kzari's neural network, something akin to amusement, an emotion the Valkari had engineered out of themselves centuries ago as inefficient. "Your accords mean nothing here. The Imperium recognizes only strength. The strong conquer. The weak serve." "And yet," Maya replied with surprising composure, "here you are, personally attending to a supposedly insignificant specimen. Why is that, Warlord? Could it be that something about me concerns you?" The laboratory fell silent. No conquered species had ever addressed a Valkari warlord with such brazen disrespect. Before Kzari could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The laboratory's communication panel activated automatically. "Warlord," came Subcommander Vex's urgent voice, "we are detecting multiple energy signatures rising from the planet's surface. They appear to be some form of primitive nuclear missiles." "Impossible," Kzari replied. "We neutralized their launch capabilities in the initial assault." "Nevertheless, Warlord, they are launching. Impact projected in 60 microcycles." Kzari turned to leave, then paused and looked back at Maya. A subtle change had come over her expression, a hint of something that might have been hope. "You knew of this," Kzari realized. Maya's face revealed nothing. "Humanity doesn't surrender easily, Warlord. That's something you're going to learn the hard way." For the first time in his long existence, Kzari felt something akin to doubt. He dismissed it immediately as inefficient and departed for the command deck. Behind him, Maya Reyes began to plan. The nuclear barrage had been, predictably, ineffective. The Valkari shields had absorbed the explosions with minimal power drain. But as Maya watched the monitors in her containment cell, which the Valkari had arrogantly left active, assuming she couldn't interpret their data, she recognized the true purpose of the attack. It hadn't been meant to succeed. It had been a distraction. The real threat to the Valkari came 3 hours later, in the form of a computer virus that spread through their network with stunning speed. Maya watched as systems throughout the ship flickered and reset, as security protocols engaged and failed, as the Valkari scientists in the laboratory rushed to respond to cascading emergencies. She recognized the coding style instantly. Dr. Sanjay Kapoor, Earth's foremost AI specialist and, more importantly, her former mentor. The thought that he had survived the initial attack filled her with fierce joy. The virus didn't cripple the Valkari systems, their technology was too advanced for that, but it created enough confusion to allow Maya to make her move. The containment cell used a sophisticated energy field rather than physical barriers. When the power fluctuated during a particularly aggressive surge from the virus, Maya was ready. She slipped through the momentarily weakened field and immediately grabbed a research tool from a nearby workstation, something resembling a scalpel, but with an energy blade instead of metal. The two scientists in the laboratory turned too late. Maya wasn't proud of what happened next, but survival left little room for moral equivocation. Within moments, she was alone in the laboratory with two dead Valkari. Moving quickly, she examined the alien workstations. Despite their advanced technology, the Valkari interfaces were surprisingly intuitive, designed for efficiency rather than security. Their arrogance was their weakness. They simply couldn't conceive of a lesser species understanding their systems. Maya accessed the ship schematics, memorizing critical locations: command deck, engine room, weapons control. She also discovered something unexpected: a massive power signature in the ship's lower levels, something the computer designated as harvester technology. Whatever it was, it seemed important. That made it a target. The door to the laboratory hissed open. Maya whirled, energy scalpel raised, but instead of Valkari guards, a human figure stumbled in: Lieutenant Nakamura, his uniform torn and bloody, but very much alive. "Reyes," he gasped, clearly shocked to see her. "They told us you were dead." Nakamura? How? No time, he cut her off, glancing nervously at the corridor. We've got maybe 5 minutes before they restore full security protocols. The virus is giving us a window, but it's closing fast. There are other survivors? Nakamura nodded grimly. About 50 of us, scattered throughout the ship. They've been using us as slave labor, but keeping us alive because they need workers who understand Earth technology. A plan began to form in Maya's mind. The harvester technology in the lower levels. Do you know what it is? Some kind of terraforming device, Nakamura replied. They're planning to reconfigure Earth's atmosphere to match their homeworld. It would kill every human on the planet. Maya felt cold determination settle over her. Not if we stop them first. Can you get me to the engine room? Nakamura hesitated. Maybe, but it's heavily guarded. What are you thinking? These ships use antimatter containment systems similar to what we had on Artemis, just more advanced. If I can overload the magnetic containment fields, you'd destroy the entire ship, Nakamura finished, understanding dawning in his eyes. But we'd die too. Maya met his gaze steadily. Better us than everyone on Earth. After a moment, Nakamura nodded. There's an access tunnel through here. The Valkari don't use it too cramped for their bodies. It'll get us partway there. As they moved toward the hidden access panel, Maya grabbed a data tablet from one of the dead scientists. We need to warn the other humans to get to escape pods. The Valkari monitor all communications, Nakamura objected. Maya smiled grimly. Not all of them. Not anymore. Warlord Kzari stood on the command deck, his posture rigid with fury as his subordinates scrambled to contain the human-computer virus. It was primitive, by Valkari standards, but designed with an unpredictable creativity that made it surprisingly effective. Status report, he demanded. Subcommander Vex approached cautiously. The virus has been isolated, Warlord. Systems are being restored. However, speak. The human female has escaped. And there are reports of coordinated disruptions throughout the ship. It appears the human laborers are revolting. Impossible. The humans had been thoroughly subjugated, their leaders eliminated, their military crushed. Yet somehow, they continued to resist. It defied all logical analysis. Find the female engineer, Kzari ordered. She is the key. The others will lose hope once she is recaptured. Yes, Warlord. And the harvester deployment? Kzari considered this. The harvester was the Imperium's most efficient means of planetary conversion, transforming atmospheres to the Valkari standard within days rather than the centuries required by natural terraforming. Once activated, Earth would become uninhabitable to humans but perfect for Valkari colonization. Accelerate the timeline, Kzari decided. Begin deployment immediately. As Vex hurried to comply, Kzari found himself reflecting on the human female, Maya Reyes. There was something about her that disturbed his ordered worldview. The Valkari had evolved beyond emotion, beyond the chaotic impulses that characterized lesser species. They were beings of pure logic and efficiency, yet this human had demonstrated a quality that Kzari struggled to define. Not merely intelligence or determination, but something more, a spark that the Valkari, for all their technological superiority, seemed to lack. The ship shuddered suddenly, throwing even the perfectly balanced Valkari off their feet. Explosion in Sector 17, reported the tactical officer. Power fluctuations detected in adjacent sectors. Sector 17 near the engine room. Understanding crystallized in Kzari's mind with cold clarity. Lock down the antimatter containment chamber, he ordered. The human engineer is attempting to overload our engines. As his officers rushed to comply, Kzari made a decision that would have been unthinkable mere hours before. He would confront this human personally. He needed to understand what drove her, what gave her this irrational hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Perhaps in understanding her defeat, he would finally quell the unfamiliar doubt that had taken root in his perfectly ordered mind. Maya and Nakamura crawled through access tunnels never meant for humanoid use, their progress slowed by the need to avoid Valkari patrols. The data tablet Maya had stolen proved invaluable, allowing them to track security movements and communicate with other human prisoners using a frequency the Valkari considered too primitive to monitor. "They're deploying the harvester," Maya told Nakamura as they paused at a junction. "We're running out of time." The lieutenant wiped sweat from his brow. "The engine room is still 2 sectors away. We'll never make it through conventional routes. They've tripled the guards." Maya studied the ship schematics on the tablet. "What about here?" She pointed to a narrow maintenance shaft that ran parallel to the ship's central power conduit. "It leads directly to the antimatter containment chamber." Nakamura frowned. "That area is flooded with radiation. Even with protection, we'd have minutes at most before receiving a lethal dose." "Minutes might be enough." Maya's expression was resolute. "I go alone from here. You need to get to the escape pods and coordinate the evacuation." "Maya, that's suicide," Nakamura protested. "Maybe. But if that harvester activates, everyone on Earth dies." She handed him the tablet. "The virus has created a backdoor into their communication system. Use it to direct our people to the escape pods in Sector 12. They're the furthest from the engine room. They'll have the best chance if I succeed." Nakamura hesitated, then nodded grimly. "It's been an honor, Chief Engineer." "Likewise, Lieutenant." Maya managed a small smile. "Now go save our people." After Nakamura departed, Maya turned to the radiation-flooded maintenance shaft. She took a deep breath, said a quick prayer to whatever might be listening, and began to crawl forward. The radiation hit her almost immediately, a wave of nausea and disorientation that made her head swim. She forced herself to keep moving, counting her breaths to stay focused as the invisible killer penetrated her cells. After what seemed like an eternity but was probably less than 5 minutes, she reached the access panel to the antimatter containment chamber. Her hands shook as she worked to bypass the security lockouts, her vision blurring from radiation sickness. Just as the panel clicked open, a cold, metallic voice spoke from behind her. "An admirable effort, Maya Reyes." Maya turned slowly to find Warlord Kzari standing in the corridor, flanked by 2 guards. He had entered through a different access point, one she hadn't seen on the schematics. "The radiation does not affect us," Kzari explained, noting her confusion. "Our exoskeletons evolved to withstand far worse on our homeworld." Maya struggled to her feet, fighting waves of dizziness. "You knew I'd come here." "I calculated the probability." "You are predictable in your devotion to your species." There was something almost like respect in Kzari's mechanical voice. "But also irrational. You have sacrificed yourself for nothing. The harvester deployment has already begun." "Then I have nothing to lose," Maya replied, lunging for the antimatter containment controls behind her. Faster than her eye could follow, Kzari was beside her, his long, alien fingers wrapping around her wrist. His strength was immense, inhuman. "Why?" he asked, his featureless face inches from hers. "Why continue to resist when defeat is certain? It defies logic." Despite her deteriorating condition, Maya laughed, a harsh, ragged sound. "That's your problem, Warlord. You think everything can be reduced to logic and efficiency. But humans don't work that way. We hope. We dream. We fight impossible odds because we can imagine a better future, even when all evidence suggests it's hopeless." "Irrational," Kzari stated, but there was a note of uncertainty in his voice. "Maybe," Maya conceded. "But it's kept us going through ice ages and plagues and wars. And it's why, even if you kill me now, humanity will never truly be conquered." An alarm blared suddenly, the sound different from any Maya had heard before on the Valkari ship. Kzari's head snapped up, his attention momentarily diverted. Maya seized the opportunity. With her free hand, she slammed a command sequence into the containment field controls, not to overload them completely, which would require more time than she had, but to create a localized breach. The effect was instantaneous. A section of the containment field flickered and failed, releasing a concentrated stream of antimatter that made contact with the normal matter of the chamber wall. The resulting annihilation reaction was small by comparison to what a full breach would cause, but still catastrophic within the confined space. The explosion threw Maya and Kzari backward, severing the warlord's grip on her wrist. Alarms screamed as emergency bulkheads slammed down, isolating the breach. Through a haze of pain and radiation sickness, Maya realized that the explosion had ruptured the adjacent power conduit, the one feeding energy to the harvester deployment system. Warning messages flashed on the remaining operational displays. Harvester sequence aborted. Critical power failure. She had done it. Not the complete destruction of the ship she had planned, but enough to stop the immediate threat to Earth. Kzari rose from the debris, his exoskeleton cracked in places to reveal the organic material beneath. For the first time, Maya saw what the Valkari truly were beneath their armored shells, not so different from humans after all. "You have merely delayed the inevitable," Kzari said, though his voice lacked its usual certainty. "The Imperium has many ships. But they don't have you," Maya replied, feeling consciousness slipping away. "And after today, they'll know that humans aren't the easy conquest you promised." The ship shuddered again, more explosions, distant but powerful. Through her fading consciousness, Maya heard new alarms and frantic Valkari communications. Something about human vessels approaching, about unexpected resistance, about tactical retreats. The last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was Warlord Kzari's reflective face, no longer smooth and perfect but shattered, fragments of his true self visible through the cracks. Maya awoke to the steady beep of medical equipment and the gentle hum of familiar technology. Her eyes fluttered open to reveal not the cold, angular architecture of a Valkari ship, but the warm, utilitarian design of a human medical bay. "Welcome back, Chief Engineer," said a voice she recognized. Commander Elena Zhao sat beside her bed, looking remarkably alive for someone Maya had watched die on Lunar Station Artemis. "Commander?" Maya's voice was a hoarse whisper. "How?" "Stun setting," Zhao explained with a wry smile, tapping her chest where the alien beam had struck. "Knocked me out cold, stopped my heart temporarily. The Valkari left me for dead, which was their first mistake." Maya tried to sit up but found her body unresponsive. "The harvester? Disabled, thanks to you. And the Valkari fleet has withdrawn from Earth orbit." Zhao's expression turned serious. "You're suffering from acute radiation poisoning, Maya. The doctors have done what they can, but—" "I understand." Maya had known the cost when she entered that radiation-flooded shaft. "What happened after I lost consciousness?" Zhao settled back in her chair. Lieutenant Nakamura succeeded in evacuating over 30 humans in escape pods. Meanwhile, Dr. Kapoor's virus continued to wreak havoc on Valkari systems. And then, she smiled with fierce pride. Earth fought back. She activated a small holographic projector, showing footage of what appeared to be an impossible sight: Valkari ships under attack from smaller, obviously human-designed vessels that moved with extraordinary speed and agility. "Experimental fighters," Zhao explained. "Designed to mimic the Valkari's own maneuverability. We'd been developing them in secret, deep under the Antarctic ice shelf. When the invasion came, they weren't ready, but your actions bought us the time to deploy them." The hologram showed the human fighters executing impossible maneuvers, evading Valkari weapons fire with precision that matched the aliens' own technology. "How?" Maya asked, bewildered. "Reverse engineering," Zhao replied. "From a crashed Valkari scout ship found on Mars 3 years ago. We kept it classified, developed countermeasures in case of exactly this scenario." The footage continued, showing Valkari ships retreating as more human fighters joined the battle. Not a decisive victory, but enough to force the aliens to reconsider the cost of conquest. "And Kzari?" Maya asked, remembering the warlord's shattered reflective face. Zhao's expression hardened. "Escaped with the remnants of his fleet. But not before sending a final message." She adjusted the holographic projector, and Kzari's image appeared no longer the immaculate warlord but damaged, his perfect exoskeleton cracked to reveal the vulnerable being within. "Humans of Earth," the Valkari's mechanical voice intoned. "Your resistance has been noted. The Imperium acknowledges your species as worthy adversaries. We shall meet again, but not as conqueror and conquered. The next encounter will determine which of our species truly deserves galactic dominance." The message ended, leaving Maya with a complex mixture of emotions: pride, dread, and something like vindication. He underestimated us, she said quietly. They all did, Zhao agreed. That was their biggest mistake. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the radiation damage coursing through her body. She would not live to see the next encounter with the Valkari, but she had helped ensure that humanity would face it standing, not kneeling. We'll be ready for them, Zhao promised, as if reading her thoughts. Your sacrifice won't be forgotten, Maya. The knowledge we've gained from this encounter will help us prepare. Next time, we won't just survive, we'll win. Maya smiled faintly. Humanity, fuck yeah, she whispered. As consciousness began to fade again, she thought of Kzari's bewilderment in those final moments, his inability to comprehend the human spirit that drove her to fight against impossible odds. It wasn't logic or efficiency that had saved Earth. It was hope, determination, and the unyielding refusal to surrender. The aliens had superior technology, overwhelming force, and perfect logical efficiency, but they didn't have humanity, and in the end, that had made all the difference. 3 months later, in a secure facility beneath the rebuilt lunar station Artemis, a team of scientists and military personnel gathered around a holographic display showing the vast expanse of space beyond the Sol system. Commander Zhao stood at the head of the table, her face illuminated by the blue light of the hologram. Beside her, Lieutenant Nakamura, now promoted to captain, studied the tactical projections with intense focus. The Valkari will return, Zhao stated, addressing the assembled team. Our intelligence suggests they're regrouping at the edge of the Orion Arm. We have perhaps 2 years to prepare. Will it be enough time? Asked Dr. Kapoor, the AI specialist whose virus had proven so crucial in the first encounter. Zhao activated another display, showing schematics for new defensive systems, weapons platforms, and spacecraft designs, all incorporating elements of Valkari technology recovered from the battle. It will have to be, she replied. But this time, we won't be caught unprepared. This time, we know what we're facing. She moved to a small alcove at the side of the room, where a simple memorial had been erected. A holographic image of Maya Reyes rotated slowly above a plaque bearing her name and the simple inscription, "She showed us how to fight back." Maya believed that our greatest strength wasn't our technology or our weapons, Zhao said, her voice soft but carrying to every corner of the room. It was our spirit, our ability to face impossible odds with courage and determination. She turned back to the assembled team, her expression hardening with resolve. We will honor her sacrifice by ensuring that when the Valkari return, they find not a planet ripe for conquest, but a species ready to defend its place among the stars. Not just with advanced technology, but with that uniquely human quality that they could never understand. The indomitable human spirit, Nakamura said quietly. Zhao nodded. Exactly. The Valkari Warlord took a human as a slave, but that was his biggest mistake. He taught us how to beat them. As the meeting continued, discussing strategies and contingencies for the coming conflict, the holographic display shifted to show the vast starfield beyond Earth's solar system. Somewhere out there, the Valkari were preparing for their return. But this time, humanity would be waiting. This time, humanity would be ready.